Now to the Trump administration's widening weaponization web, the growing cluster of people being personally targeted for federal investigations. Yesterday, after celebrating an indictment against James Comey, Trump said Comey's successor, Christopher Wray, has some major explaining to do. In the last 7 days, Trump has also been name-checking Democratic donors while attempting to demonize his political opposition.
The Department of Justice is also investigating networks of radical left maniacs who fund, organize, fuel, and perpetrate political violence.
I hear names of some pretty rich people that are radical left people.
I'm the president of all the people. But the radical left is causing this. The radical left Democrats are.
It's so weird that a political party blames things on people that are counter to what they are, right? It's weird. It's almost like that, like fascists and neo-Nazi and white supremacists and and right-wing attacks. It's almost like that the left has been saying that for, I don't know, forever. They've been saying that forever. They spout that all the time. And when you look at like all of the, whether it's the Southern Poverty Law Center or whatever group you decide to choose to cite your stats from, saying that right-wing violence is at an all-time high and is way higher than left-wing violence. Well, once you start digging into the weeds on those statistics and you realize that they don't include, like, for example, the George Floyd riots or the massive amount of like Antifa rioting that's been going on for the past decade, right? A lot of that stuff's not included. So it's obviously wrong. There's no way other than you get J6 out of them, right? And then you take J6 and then you say, well, how many people died during J6? How many people died? 2 people. None of them were officers. None of them were lefties. 2 of the protesters that were there died. 1 was trampled and 1 was shot. And okay, so you could say that those individual acts of violence on J6, you can count that as political violence. Sure, that's fine. But you're trying to tell me that you're not going to count all of the cities that burned for the entirety of 2020 to 2022? All of the people that got their lives were lost during that time, during those riots that were burned, they burned down cities to the ground, killed people, firebombed courthouses, police stations. That doesn't count because they didn't count that. Not sure how you square that. Then what counts as lefty violence then, if we're not going to count that stuff? That was directly delineated. You can see a direct correlation between the Antifa groups, the BLM groups, and the left. There's no way they're considered to the right. There's no way they're considered centrist. Those are left-leaning organizations. So if you're going to play the January 6th card, then you're going to have to play the BLM Antifa card. It has to go hand in hand. And again, J6 was 1 day when nobody died. And I don't think there were any fires. So take it for what it's worth. But I'm pretty sure, let's see where they go here.
Causing this problem.
It's about justice, really. It's not revenge. It's about justice. It's also about the fact that you can't let this go on. They are sick, radical left people, and they can't get away with it.
Joining me now, Ty Cobb, former White House counsel during the first Trump administration. He represented the Office of the Presidency during the Robert Mueller investigation, as well as that one, of course, into the Russian election interference. Ty, I'm glad you're here because I'm curious your big picture on why Trump publicly pressured his attorney general to go after perceived rivals. I mean, some of these people were simply doing their jobs and is now, teeing up these investigations of Democratic political groups.
Yes, I think, it's really not complicated. I mean, this is Trump's narcissism in full blossom. It's if you've got him acting like a 2-year-old, putting up pictures of all the presidents and having Biden's be the auto pin, putting his mugshot up in the White House, just doing silly things, the memes, having Obama arrested in the Oval Office. Yeah, this is just juvenile vengeance. And if you've... All
right, so it's not vengeance, right? It's trolling, which I guess you could say, you don't want your president to troll. That's kind of the world we live in now. It's funny. You don't think it's funny. That's probably because you're the butt of the joke. That's usually how it goes. If you don't think something's funny, that means you can't take the joke and you're the butt of the joke. But if listen, if you could be of the kind that says, I don't want my president joking, that's fine. That's why you didn't vote for him. I'm pretty sure that's not why you didn't vote for him, but that's why you could vote for somebody else. And that's why we like this guy, because he can joke around, he can throw out the memes there, and all liberals just look like this guy. They look, very bitter faced and angry about it, and they can't take a joke. So it is what it is.
Offended Trump in the past. You have some vulnerability here. He will target you, and he will try to destroy you.
No, if you offended Trump in the past, it's not that you have some vulnerability. If you committed a crime, then you have some vulnerability. Like if you look at the Comey indictment, right? The thing that Comey was indicted for is literally the same thing that I believe Martha Stewart was indicted for, arrested for. I'm sorry, she was arrested, she was tried, she did jail time for the same things that Comey was indicted for, and Michael Flynn, and this was the lying to the FBI and the obstruction charge. That was Jim Comey's go-to. That was his like ace in the hole when you really wanted to press somebody, you couldn't get them on anything. You would send a couple of agents over there. They would talk to them. Your statements would be inconsistent with the records that they illegally had, because again, the FISA warrants that they had on the Trump administration, which is how they obtained the conversation. So again, we're getting a little bit into the weeds here, but Michael Flynn, right? They had a warrant on the Trump campaign that using that warrant, they obtained conversations that Michael Flynn had with individuals in Russia. He was incoming administration. He was communicating with Russians, basically saying to cool things down. We'll be in soon, and we'll sit down and we'll discuss things. Don't do anything hastily now while Obama's still in office. The FBI agents then went and interviewed Flynn, and some of his statements didn't line up with the illegal tap that they had on the phone. And then there you go. He's charged with lying to the FBI. So that was a Comey go-to, and it's very rich that that's what he's being charged with, because he's done way worse than that. That was the only thing that they could get him on at this time. I hope that they can listen. When it's all said and done, I just hope that whatever crimes people commit, they're held to account. That's why isn't that the standard, right? Obviously, when you're looking at all of Trump's charges and all the times he was arrested, none of those held up in court. Right, so they didn't come to fruition. So then, what's the big deal if he turns around and says, "Okay, I got charged with those things. Well, you did those same things also. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at you, see what you guys have to say about it, see how you guys fare in the courts, and guess what? Maybe they're found not guilty. Okay, that's fine. That's the way the justice system works. But to say, like, to have just the gall to say, oh, it's just political, this and that. No. It would, in my view, it would just be political if they're all found not guilty. If they're all found not guilty, then it's just political. Then it's a hack job, and I don't like that. But if you have the evidence there and you're going forward with it, and something happens, somebody gets found guilty, then you know it's legit. And we'll see. In the end, we'll see.
Yeah, I was thinking what you said about the President Biden auto pen. That is in that new presidential wall of honor that you have in one of the corridors, and everybody else's face is there except Joe Biden's. There's just an auto pen. Okay, so Lindsay Halligan, as you know, was appointed Saturday, sworn in Monday, and then by Thursday secured the indictment that Trump has wanted for at least 5 years. Should we be impressed or troubled by how quickly the system can turn against its citizens?
Oh, I think we should be scared to death. First of all, at 30,000 feet, the fact that a man was indicted who the Justice Department, in the ordinary course of traditional processes, investigated and concluded there was insufficient evidence to justify a criminal prosecution. But because he was an enemy of the president, and because the president ordered his feckless attorney general to prosecute him now, that should scare us all. I mean, and Justice Jackson, when he was attorney general in 1940, made it very plain that targeting individuals as opposed to merely investigating crimes was the distinction between America and third world regimes. It was something that didn't.
Yeah. And were you railing at this at all when they were? I mean, it's so funny because like you can take Comey's name out, insert Trump's name, and it should have been the same thing, right? When they were going after him during a presidential campaign, the guy's running for president of the United States, and all of these things that had been, all of these quote unquote crimes that have been committed years in the past, just so happens that they all coincide with the election cycle. And I'm gonna be, maybe I'll leave some leeway and say that maybe this guy was railing against the sense of that. I would highly put a high amount of money on him not. He probably didn't make a peep. He was probably all for it. He was probably on the show saying that, yep, he did this and he's a bad man and he's guilty. So who's really political in this scenario?
Didn't happen here. Griffin Bell made the same point about how inappropriate it would be to prosecute anybody out of favor or for political partisan reasons. So, historically, that's not America. This isn't America as we've known it. This is really authoritarianism, and it should scare everybody.
So, Ty, for the many Republicans that are just cheering him on, what main points are they missing?
Yeah, what are we missing?
I think that is such a hard question to answer. I don't know whether they're missing anything, whether the Kool-Aid is just so strong that they can't see the way liberty is eroding in the United States, whether it's First Amendment freedoms or just the general protections that the Constitution gives.
What First Amendment freedom? What is he? Are you like? Is he making a Jimmy Kimmel reference here? That's the only thing I can think of, right? So Jimmy Kimmel, who was for a small period of time sidelined by his own network. Yeah, that's not a First Amendment issue. Sorry to say. The Biden administration kicking people off social media platforms, that's a social media that's a First Amendment issue. Okay, so because here's the difference, right? First Amendment involves actions by government, right? Actions by government. You're on this is a platform that I'm on. This is a private company, private entity. If they don't want me on, they can kick me off. Now, they should follow certain rules and guidelines that they put forth themselves, right? They put the rules and guidelines in themselves, and then if you don't follow them, you get kicked off. But guess what? If they just want to kick you off for whatever reason, I think they should have the right to. What shouldn't happen, which is when you look at the Twitter files and when you look at what just got released recently through from I think it was Alphabet, Google, which is also YouTube and stuff like that, that was showing. I think Facebook as well, that the federal government was essentially going to them and saying, shut these people down, do not allow them to say what they're saying. And then those entities were removing either by throttling or by outright canceling them altogether. So you're telling me that, that was fine. You don't have any issue with that. But, the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing. So the guy from FCC makes a comment about it. He gets canned for a couple of days, and it's a humongous free speech violation. The guy lost his job for 2 days. 2 days he lost his job. He didn't lose any social media account. He could go on any platform he wanted and say whatever he wanted. He literally just lost his job. He did not lose the right to speak. You have guys that are to this day, they can't get on social media. They can't get a credit card processing. They can't get anything because they've been just completely shut down. And a lot of that had to do, from what we're finding, from the government. The government was telling them to do that. The government was putting forth its authority against these companies and making them shut these people down. And these guys said nothing about it. Absolutely nothing.
Guarantees, all citizens. But it is shocking. I mean, you have farmers who just take soybeans alone. They've lost $15 billion in Chinese purchases, but the majority of them supported Trump, and they still do. They expect to be bailed out with, our money, merely because of the, mistaken tariffs that Trump imposed. And so as a result, we get hit twice. We get hit with the tariffs, and then we get hit with the subsidy to the farmers. This is just craziness, and it is sad. I mean,
so this guy's supposed to be a lawyer. He's floundering around. He can't make a coherent argument on what it is they're actually talking about. They're talking about Trump pressuring the DOJ to do prosecutions, and he's talking about farmers. He's talking about tariffs. These guys are all weak tea. They're weak sauce, right? They've never been pushed. They've never. If you're a conservative, and especially if you're a conservative libertarian or whatever, if you're just a normal person and you're in like a major city, you're getting hit with it all the time. You have to be sharp at all times to defend yourself, literally and like mentally, right? You need to have your points sharpened and everything ready to go to crush the arguments of the other side, because you're constantly being bombarded with it. And this guy, he's on a freaking, a softball network, and he can barely form a coherent thought.
And as you were going on with others about, right now we're in the middle of the invasion of Portland. That's not an accident. They're just, the things that are going on here are more than one or two deviations from the norm. These are really 180 degrees from the norm, and people need to wake up.
Yeah, because we voted for that. We voted for that. Personally, I would say just let Portland turn into a pile of shit. It already is. I mean, what are you going to do? Just going to go in there and sweep it up? What is he doing in Portland? He's protecting federal buildings. Does he have jurisdiction to do that? Obviously. What is ICE doing in Portland? They're deporting illegals. Do they have the authority to do that? Obviously. So is he doing it? Is he trying to clean up these cities in a roundabout way? Of course he is. Obviously. He can't just send troops in and say we're going to target crime, because they're not allowed to do that. That's a local jurisdiction matter, not a federal matter. Can he say, I'm going to send my ICE agents in there to get out the illegal immigrants, and we're going to send them some sort of whether it's National Guard or whoever, in order to protect them because they're being targeted? Absolutely, he can do that. Will that drive down crime? It 100% will drive down crime. Why are they going to be upset about it? I don't know. They're going to be upset about it because they have to espouse being upset about it, because this is the you have to be anti whatever that party is doing. I don't know how that's going to play out in the end, because the average people in those cities, when they get cleaned up, they're going to be happier. I mean, safety is paramount. Without safety, you have absolutely nothing. So ideally, you would have a police force that is given the green light and is able to put criminals in jail, and they stay in jail for a considerable amount of time, making them less susceptible to reoccurring, doing the crime again. But in this scenario, it is absolutely going to clean up these cities. The people are going to be happy about it. And I don't know how the Democrats are going to spin that. How are you going to spin that? Now that they're saying that you didn't want this to happen, now that it's happened, things are better. How are you going to spin that? I don't know.
Given you were in the Trump administration and the difference between then and now, what do you think it is? Do you think that Donald Trump learned how to harness his power in a way that he was not aware of, or at least had the guardrails in place in the first administration to keep him from doing so?
So I think there are two things. One, he was new to government, and he relied on others who were more experienced, which was wise. And his coterie of sycophants, had 4 years to sort of plan this. The Russ Voigts and the Stephen Millers and the Steve Bannons, all got together and concocted Project 25 and other authoritarian wish lists, and they're executing effectively without sufficient resistance, I think. Secondly, as you highlight, there were guardrails. You had people like General Mattis and Nikki Haley, real public servants, people who were smart, strong, and not afraid to tell the president that he was wrong. You had General Kelly, whose service to the country, I think, is becoming clearer and clearer as we see what's happening now, because he was able to restrain.
You look up all those guys: Mattis, Kelly, Haley. What is that? What is the fact that these people are espousing those names and bringing them up? It goes to show you what he was fighting against in that first administration. I mean, it was just rhino, deep state, military industrial complex, just blobs that were just gumming it up. I'm surprised he got anything done in that first administration. It is wild to think that, these are the people that they would want there now. And then that would make these lefties feel better.
Trump for a couple of years against his worst instincts, and it took a big toll on General Kelly, sadly. But he performed heroically in that role. We don't have anybody in this regime who's doing anything other but what Pam Bondi does. You want me to indict him now? Yes, sir. How fast can I get that done for you? That's not the role of the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is supposed to be independent.
It's just, when I think about what's to come, what's most scary for you, Ty?
I tell you what's most scary for them. What's most scary for them is they don't have a bench. They don't have a prayer. This is going to keep going. They're going to keep winning. And most likely, the midterms are going to come. They're going to get trounced. It's only going to get worse for them. And if things keep going the way they're going, in the direction that they're going, things get cleaned up, the streets get cleaned up, illegal immigration is tamped down, we get a lot of the bad guys out, the economy keeps booming, the tariffs start rolling in, the investment starts pouring in, taxes are lowered. What do you think is going to happen the next time around? Either Vance or whoever is going to come rolling in, and we'll have another 8 years, which we need. We probably need a solid decade of this to clean up the mess that we have going on here. I wish it's never going to happen. I wish we could have gotten somebody more libertarian involved, and we could have like taken care of the Fed and the DOD, scale that back. Listen, you got the victories that you get, you got to just take them. We're not going to get everything. I'm not going to get everything that I wanted, but guess what? I'm not the president. I'm not going to be president, and so I obviously can't expect to get everything that I want. But if I'm getting 60%, I'll take it, as opposed to 10%. So I think that's ultimately what they're afraid of. What they're afraid of is they're on the losing side. They don't have a prayer. All they can do is demonize to try to get. The problem is they're demonizing, but they don't have someone to put forth. I mean, Newsom has so much baggage. I mean, he's a great politician. He's a very slimy, disgusting guy. But he's a great politician. You can't say he's not. But the baggage that comes with him, I just don't see how he can get past that.
Do you envision the fact that Donald Trump is putting federal troops into different cities, is part of the reason behind that, not only to show power where those are, but to maybe maintain them there beyond whatever the stated goal is, have them be there around election time next year in November and beyond?
Yeah, so I'm not so sure about the midterms, but I think 2028 is something everybody should be very focused on. I think a lot of these things are practice exercises. We've seen federal troops, National Guard, being sent around the country, California, Washington, now Portland, Memphis, with others on the agenda. Chicago, he insists, is coming up. I think, and his comments today or yesterday, basically where he's made it plain that his sole focus right now is on targeting domestic enemies, George Soros, anybody who raises money for the Democrats, Act Blue. And any person who's opposed him in the past. So this is just narcissistic vengeance, at its core. This is authoritarianism. This is what has historically distinguished us from, the Allende's Chile, Stalin's Russia, Hitler's Germany, the Khmer Rouge's Cambodia. People need to wake up to that. And I think that takes me to the point that really does scare me the most, which is how few Americans seem to really appreciate how desperate the times we are in right now, and the necessity of stepping up and saying, stop. This is not America. This is not who we are. We love our neighbors. We want to get back to fighting poverty, inclusiveness, and bringing people together and moving forward.
Yeah, and we all love our neighbors. The people on the right,
shining light on the hill that we once.
People on the left want to kill everybody. How can you not see that? How can you not see that? I mean, I love my family, my friends. I have no issues with my neighbors. I don't know if they love me. But if they're left and I'm to the right and they know that, then they probably won't. Whereas the majority of people that are not progressive, because I don't even like saying MAGA anymore, because it's such a large umbrella of people that just have decent common sense. But, when I'm constantly just peering outside of my personal bubble, or at least I try to. Being from New York, not in the actual city proper, but I go there almost every day. And I see that Mom Donnie's about to be elected. Basically a Muslim communist is about to be elected mayor, and he's going to take office on the 25th year anniversary of 9/11. And if that doesn't just sink in and just say, like, what the hell's going on? I don't know. When you peer outside the bubble, I mean, it's tough for me because, like I said, I basically am immersed in the city. So that's why my defenses are always up, and I'm always, kind of battling people and going back and forth politically. But I do believe that the majority of the country is kind of awake, aware, and not a microcosm of a city, because the cities are just a cesspool. You know, just the progressive liberals are, but again, they need to just get what they deserve. They need to get Mamdani. It needs to go to shit in order for them to kind of get their act together and see, okay, this is not what we needed. But these people here, you could see them. They're angry. They're bitter. No matter what age they are, they all look the same. They talk about love. They talk about acceptance, but they won't accept the other side, the other point of view. I don't hate anybody on the left. I just think they're wrong. Or they hate me. Probably because, maybe because they know I'm right in more ways than one. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. 6283 Talk on the X. If you want to follow me on X, please hit the subscribe button. It does me a lot. Small channel trying to grow. I am John Soto. I'll see you again in the next video. Take care.